Namaste everyone and welcome to another edition of TheHinduPod. Today we have for you a very special episode. Tomorrow we'll be celebrating Shri Krishn Janamashtami, and we thought that we would put together for you an episode based on the birth of Shri Krishna. As always, this is a daddy-daughter podcast. My name is Pradeep and I'm the dad.
My name is Vishala and I am the daughter.
And we have a very special guest with us, our dear son, Videsh Burjlal. Hello Videsh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Are you excited? Are you nervous about doing this with us today? I know this is your very first podcast.
I'm a little bit nervous, but let's see how this goes.
I am sure that you will do fine. So Vishala, this was your idea. Why don't you tell us what we will be reviewing today?
So there's this video that I found on YouTube going over the birth of Krishna, and the video I found was titled Birth of Krishna, Shri Krishna in English, Animated Cartoon Story by the MagicBox English Stories.
Yeah, MagicBox tends to have a lot of really nice cartoons based on Hindu culture and Hindu stories. For some reason they call it mythology a lot of the times, and I wish they wouldn't use that word. But I think you chose a good one. It's a very basic video. I was watching it earlier and I do like it, but they did miss out a few of the key components of the story, like when it talks about the origin. Why did Shri Krishna actually take avatar? That's totally missing from the episode, and I thought I would talk a little bit about that. So remember when we talked about the advent of Shri Raam, we talked about Prithvi Mata going to Lord Brahma and asking him to help her, that she was under so much pain from these demons that were causing havoc on the earth, that she needed help. Well, it's very much the same thing that happens once again. She takes the form of a cow. She goes to Lord Brahma and she asks Lord Brahma that Kamsa is here and he is creating all of these problems for her, and please help. So Kamsa, together with the other demigods, once again accompanied with Lord Shiva, they go to Lord Vishnu and they ask Lord Vishnu in very much the same way that Prithvi Mata is in distress and can you please help? And upon hearing the pleas of the Devatas, of Prithvi Mata herself, Lord Vishnu, he agrees to take avatar on earth and come in the form of Shri Krishna and alleviate the earth of its distress. And just as when Shri Ram came, all the demigods took avatar, took form on earth and came with him, the exact same thing happens. And they all take avatar in the Yadu dynasty. They become a part of the Yadu dynasty, and later on, when we have that great war on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it is all of these people that comes to help in the battle of Kurukshetra. So why don't you go ahead and get started with the episode. You can start your review, and I'm sure Videsh will have some very enlightening conversation to add into this episode.
Okay. In the beginning of the video, they talked about this king named Ugrasena, and he had a son named Kamsa. But in the video, they just kind of drop Ugrasena and then start talking about Kamsa, and it just cuts to them talking about Kamsa being king.
So yes, Ugrasena was the king of Mathura, and Kamsa was his child, his son. But at some point, Kamsa decided that he wanted to be king. He ended up overthrowing Ugrasena and taking the throne for himself and imprisoning his father.
Yeah, the episode doesn't do a very good job of explaining that. It just, at one point it says Ugrasena and then it just switches to Kamsa and it doesn't give you any explanation at all.
They say how Kamsa, he was very cruel and scary and everyone was afraid of him. But there were two people that Kamsa really cared about, which was his cousin Devaki and her husband Vasudev. On their wedding day, Kamsa drove the chariot to their in-laws' home, and as he drove, there was this loud voice from the sky that said Devaki's 8th child will destroy him. And Kamsa started bursting with rage. He got upset and he grabbed Devaki and said that he will kill her before she could give birth to her child.
So according to the book Krishna by Srila Prabhupada, it states here that the Akashvani told Kamsa, "Kamsa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law. But you do not know that the 8th child of this sister will kill you."
So right before Kamsa could kill Devaki, Vasudev said that if Kamsa spared them, then they would hand over all their children to him. And Kamsa agreed, but he will make sure that they keep their word by imprisoning them. So they go back to Mathura, and Kamsa imprisons Devaki and Vasudev in the dungeons. Kamsa was soon informed...
So that's according to that, the cartoon that we saw, right?
Yeah.
So according to the same book, Krishna by Srila Prabhupada, he tells it a little bit differently. So after he hears the voice, Vasudev talks at length with Kamsa and tries to convince him that he should not kill Devaki. So this is Kamsa's first impulse, to kill Devaki. Because if the child of Devaki is going to be his doom, if he kills Devaki, then he won't die.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing this, Vasudev, he runs to her rescue. He tries to convince Kamsa that he should not kill Devaki. Now he originally starts to try to convince him that these children are not even born yet. What is to say that they will be his doom? But then he quickly realizes that Kamsa is set and he wants to do this. So he decides that, you know what? Maybe we deal with one problem first. The main problem here is he wants to kill Devaki, so let's try to convince him to not do that. So he tells Kamsa, we will bring every child, as a child is born, to you. And you can do with the child as you please. But let us go. On my honor, I will bring the child to you. Now, Vasudev himself has a very good reputation. He's known to be an honest person. He's known to be a just person. So Kamsa believes him. And Kamsa actually lets them go. And they go and they live their lives as a married couple. Later on, when they have their first child, Vasudev brings that child to Kamsa as he had originally promised. Kamsa, on seeing the child, and he's so pleased with Vasudev's honesty that he actually did fulfill his promise, what he was going to do. He told Vasudev, there is no reason for me to kill this child. The voice said that it was the 8th child that will be my doom. Take this child and go. Raise this child. That's okay. When the 8th child is born, then you bring that child to me. So according to the book Krishna, that is how it played out.
Yeah, that's completely different from what they did in the video. Because after the voice in the sky told Kamsa about his demise, and after Vasudev had pleaded for Devaki's life, Kamsa immediately put them into the prison cell, and that's where the story continued.
And that's according to the video, right?
Yes.
So see, what we have in here is the same thing like the Ramayana. It's very close, where different tellings tells you different things. You hear different versions of the story. Ultimately, you look for, is the end result the same? And in this case, the end result is the same. The end result is that Kamsa killed all the children one after the next. Vasudeva and Devaki were imprisoned. Shri Krishna was born in a jail cell, right? So in the end, it gets to the same place. The telling up front, it varies a little bit, but I don't think we should worry too much about it, right? But it is nice to know the different versions that's out there.
So, Dad, you said that he spared the children, but in the end result, all the children, or the 6 children, were killed.
No, I didn't say he spared all the children. Up until that point, that's what happened. That's how up until the point where the first child was brought to him, that's what happened. He didn't spare the children, though, right? There's more to tell there.
So after doing some research, what I found was that Narad Muni instigated the death of the 6 children. And the reason why is because these 6 children are the Sad Garba, which is, they are the 6 Munis from the beginning of time. And they had been cursed by Lord Brahma to be born as Asuras, and this was their way of being released from that curse.
Right. So according to Krishna, the book Krishna, it is said at the time the great sage Narada came to Kamsa. He was informed of Kamsa's becoming compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narada was very anxious to accelerate the descent of Lord Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all the cowherd men and girls and the wives of the cowherd men in Vrindavan, and on the other side, Vasudeva, his father Surasena, and all his relatives born in the family of Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty were preparing for the appearance of the Lord. So Narad Muni is trying to instigate haste in Kamsa to try to get him to understand, listen, you cannot have any compassion at this point. And it's not that Narad Muni wants to see the children killed. He is trying to hurry the advent. And these children have to die in order for the Lord to take avatar.
So back in the video, Kamsa, later he was informed that Devaki had given birth to her first child. And he takes the child and he kills it. And he does the same with Devaki's next 5 children. But with the 7th child, in the video it said the 7th child was miraculously taken to Vasudeva's other wife in Gokul, who we later know as Balram.
Right, so according to the book Krishna, when Devaki became pregnant for the 7th time, the expansion of Krishna, known as Ananta, appeared within her womb. And this Ananta is Ananta Shesh, who we also know in Ramayana as Lakshman. We will eventually get to know him as Balaram. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation, because immediately she starts to think that I will also lose this child, just as I have lost all the others. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb. But at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kamsa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being compassionate upon the fearful condition of the Yadus due to the atrocities committed by Kamsa, ordered the appearance of his Yoga Maya, and Yoga Maya here is Devi Ma, or his internal potency. Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty. In Vrindavan, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing at the house of King Nanda. Not only Rohini, but many others of the Yadu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kamsa. Some of them were even living in caves of the mountains. The Lord informed Yoga Maya, again the Lord told Devi Maya, under the imprisonment of Kamsa are Devaki and Vasudeva. And at the present moment, my expansion, Shesha, is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. So you see this miracle that's happening. He tells Devi Ma, take this form, take this Shesha baby from the womb of Devaki and place it into the womb of Rohini. And then what happens? Devaki has a stillborn baby. So that child that she originally has is gone, right? The power of that child is gone into Rohini, and the child that she has is stillborn.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense than what they said in the video. Because in the video, they said the baby miraculously went to Rohini, and that confused me. I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, well, the video, again, it's a cartoon and it's really made for children, so they don't expand a whole lot on it as to how it actually happens.
Yeah, what you said made a lot more sense.
He continues. After this arrangement, so once you have this switch done, after this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. So we've already taken off Balarama, we've already taken care of Shesh, right? Once we've taken care of Shesh, who this time is going to be the older brother of Shri Krishna. In the Rama avatar, Shesh was the younger brother. In the Krishna avatar, he is the older brother. Then I shall appear as a son of Devaki and Vasudeva, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan.
Soon it was the 8th day in the month of Shravan. It was storming and the sky was very dark. From other stories that I've heard, it was like really storming like really, really badly. And Devaki was pregnant with her 8th child, which was Krishna. Suddenly, in the jail cell, Lord Vishnu appeared before Vasudeva and Devaki, and he said that he had taken birth as their child, but he must be taken to Gokul and switched with the child of Nanda Gopal. And at midnight, Devaki gave birth to her 8th child, who was Krishna, and all the soldiers in the prison fell asleep, allowing Vasudeva to go and take Krishna to Gokul. And as Vasudeva carried Krishna to Gokul, you could see Shesh in the background following them.
According to Krishna, the book, it says, Kamsa saw the transcendental beauty of Devaki, and he at once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never before looked so wonderfully beautiful. So as soon as Shri Krishna takes residence in her womb, her entire aura changes. She just radiates beauty. And Kamsa is seeing this and he knows immediately that this is the Lord that has taken avatar in her womb. It goes on to talk about he had actually wanted to kill Devaki when he saw this. It is only through pure shame that he didn't do it, because he realizes what that would mean, how people would look upon him for having killed a pregnant woman. So that is the only reason he didn't kill Devaki. So he was just waiting for, as soon as this child was born, he was going to go and he was going to kill the child. So that's why it became such an urgency to take care of this child when this child is born. So it also talks about the conditions that were present, the atmospheric conditions that were present when he was born. Remember when Lord Rama was born? He was born exactly midday and the place was calm, it was cool, right? So it also talks about when Shri Krishna was born. Now we're talking about at the time of his birth, right? It says, at that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. And on the surface, in all towns and villages, or pasturing grounds, and within the mind of everyone, there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of waters. The lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful peacocks and birds. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers. At home, the Brahmins found their homes very pleasant for offerings. The denizens of the Gandharva and Kinara planets began to sing, and the denizens of Siddhaloka and the planets of the Kanaras began to offer prayers in the service of the personality of Godhead. In the heavenly planets, the angels, along with their wives, accompanied by the Aspras, began to dance. The great sages and demigods, being pleased, began to shower flowers. At the seashore, there was a sound of mild waves, and above the sea there were clouds in the sky, which began to thunder very pleasingly. There's also another beautiful reading that tells the conditions in the jail cell as Shri Krishna is born. It says, Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born as a baby with 4 hands, holding the conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flowers, decorated with the mark of Srivatsa, wearing the jeweled necklace of the Kaustuba stone, dressed in yellow silk, appearing dazzling like a bright blackish cloud, wearing a helmet bedecked with a Vaidurya stone, valuable bracelets, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over his body, and an abundance of hair on his head. So when he takes avatar in the jail cell, he actually comes as Vishnu. He does not come as a baby first, he comes as Vishnu. And then it is upon the pleading of Vasudeva and Devaki that he takes the form of a baby and starts to cry. But first he tells them, take this child to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. When you get there, there will be another baby, a baby girl. You take that baby and you bring her back. He gives them the directions, and then the jail cell doors come open, the shackles fall off, and this is when Vasudeva is able to take him and carry him.
So they reach the river Yamuna, and there are multiple versions that I've heard of this part of the story, but the version that was told in the video was they approached the river and the river parted, which allowed them to cross over to Gokul. And the way that I've heard before, like, was he like walked straight into the water, but it kept rising up, like the river kept rising up higher and higher because it wanted to touch the feet of Lord Krishna. And Krishna, he understood this, so he stuck his toe out to the water and the river went back to normal. And so Vasudeva, he reaches Gokul and he switches Krishna with Nanda Yashoda's baby, and afterwards he made his way back to the jailhouse. By morning, everyone woke up. Kamsa was informed then that Devaki had birthed another child, and he made his way to their cell. And just when he picked the baby up, she flew out of his hands and took the form of the goddess Durga. And she explains to him how his destroyer was born at midnight and was safely taken to Gokul. And she then left Kamsa, who had spent the rest of his days in fear of what was in store for him.
There's something ironic that I find about Kamsa taking the switched child because her name is Maya.
Yoga Maya. Yes, that's the name that, according to the book Krishna, that's what she's called, Yoga Maya.
Yeah, and I find it ironic because you can see that Kamsa is sort of blinded by this ignorance, by this Maya, and
ultimately it is Maya itself that defeats him in that case.
Yes. It's sort of like adding insult to injury in that case.
Yeah, that is a beautiful observation. Yeah, very true. Very true. He is blinded by Maya, and Maya is the thing that ultimately defeats him. So you were talking about the different versions of the passage across the Yamuna River. Mm-hmm. And as I was growing up, I had actually heard the exact same version that you're talking about, that he's crossing the Yamuna, and it's storming really hard. He has Sheshnag behind of him, and all Sheshnag could do really is to cover the baby so the baby doesn't get wet. But he can't stop the river from raising. So Nanda keeps raising Shri Krishna higher and higher because he doesn't want the water to get in the basket. And eventually he's actually covered by the water himself. Now what is happening is Yamuna, River Yamuna, wants to touch the feet of Shri Krishna. So she keeps rising and rising and rising. And Shri Krishna knows this. He knows his devotee just wants to see him, just wants to touch him. He sticks his baby toe outside the basket, and the river rises, touches his toe, and goes right back down. And Vasudev is able to, at this point, cross the Yamuna with great ease. But reading the Krishna book and watching the video, both the book and the video talks about Yamuna actually cleared a path for Vasudev to cross. So again, maybe this might be one of those cases where there are two different versions, or maybe multiple versions of the same story. I'm not sure which one is true. Both are very beautiful. Ultimately, the same thing happens in the end. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with it. So Krishna, he goes to the house of Nanda and Yashoda, and here he's able to grow up as a very powerful child, and here he starts his pastimes.
So during Krishna's life, you see a lot of different stories about how Kamsa would send demons towards the village to try to kill Krishna so that Kamsa wouldn't worry about his future demise. But after, I believe it's 14 years of his life, he went to Mathura again to face Kamsa. But Krishna is also known for other feats as well, such as his role in the Mahabharata, as he encouraged Arjun to take part in Draupadi's Swayamvar. He was also the charioteer for Arjun in the great battle of Kurukshetra, and narrated the Srimad Bhagavad Gita to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So one of the questions that I had is, why did Sri Krishna incarnate on Earth? And I guess there's a couple different reasons why, but the main one is to reinstate Dharma. So there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 7.
Yes, that's a beautiful verse. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam paritranaya sadhuna vinaschaya chaduskritam dharma sanstapanarthaya shambhavami yuge yuge.
Basically, these verses, they state, whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, O Arjun, at that time I manifest myself on earth, to protect the righteousness, to annihilate the wicked, and to re-establish the principles of Dharma, I appear on this earth, age after age. So we can see a few examples of this, like his battle with Kamsa to reinstate Ugrasena to become the king of Mathura once again. And we can also see that he helped in the Kurukshetra war, which is the battle of Dharma, to reinstate Dharma. And he also narrated the Bhagavad Gita, which is a manual for how people should live within their life.
So Vishala, what did you think about this episode?
I liked it. This is a story that I've heard multiple times before, and I think it's kind of cool that now I'm the one that's able to go and tell it.
Yeah, the fact that you're able to present this on this platform, there are a lot of people that just like we are, we don't know everything, and just being able to hear it, helps to open up our minds and tells us a little bit so we can understand a little bit more about the life and the birth of Shri Krishna. How about you, Videsh? What do you think about it?
Growing up, I never really knew that much about Krishna's story, and hearing this was very nice to know how Krishna was born.
Yeah, so this episode, of course, it's a cartoon, right? It's made for children, but at the same time, it can jog your curiosity. It can make you start asking questions, and you look at it and you start looking for answers. So I think it was well done for the demographic that they were choosing, and I think anybody that chooses to watch it, we would have the link in our show notes, you will greatly benefit from. For me, I would rate this cartoon version of the birth of Shri Krishna 7 out of 10 blue babies.
I would rate it 8 flutes.
8 flutes?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. How about you, Videsh?
I would rate the cartoon a 7 out of 10 peacock feathers because it tells a good story. It gives a basic understanding of how Krishna was born, but the animation was a little,
Again, it's made for children.
Yeah.
I am grateful that, what's the name of the company that made this?
MagicBox English Stories.
I am grateful that MagicBox decided to create this story. Again, it's a very nice way for us to be able to relive the birth of Shri Krishna. I would like to thank all of you for joining with us today on this very special episode of the Hindu Pod. I would like to especially thank Videsh for taking the initiative to join with us. Videsh himself told us that he wanted to be a part of this, and we are very happy to have him along. And hopefully this would not be the only episode that we find him. Maybe you guys can give him a little bit of encouragement in terms of coming back on. Thank you, Vishala, once again for putting together the episode, for doing the research on it, and for spearheading this episode. Once again, thank you all for being a part of today's podcast. And until next time, Jai Shri Krishna. This has been a presentation of the Hindu Pod. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and rate this episode, since it helps to bump us up in the feeds, which helps others to find the podcast. Please send comments to TheHinduPod@gmail.com. That's TheHinduPod@gmail.com. You can text us at 281-804-9616 or just search Facebook for The Hindu Pod. If you live in the Houston area, you can find us on most Sundays at the Sanatan Dharam Mandir for Sunday morning satsang. They are located at 12918 Player Street, Houston, Texas 77045, and are open Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. If you would like to support the pod financially, we are sponsored by HinduHandcrafts.com. That's HinduHandcrafts.com. Please visit HinduHandcrafts.com for Hindu religious-based items such as framed pictures, wall plaques, tapestries, t-shirts, clocks, and so on. They are perfect for puja use and home decor or gifts. Until next time, Jai Shri Ram.